Hey, this is Corbin from Circa 2020 back for another video. We talked a lot about saving money so far, and I promised I would do a budget sight video. And I was going to do a firearm video, grab another one out of my collection, my armory, and do a budget sight, or do a firearm video and kind of go over, how I modded, how I did a loadout on the gun, how I made it specifically to do something I wanted it to do, and how I saved money along the way. I was going to do the AR-15. But I realized I have all these sights laying around. I just got 2 more in the mail this week, so I figured why not do a budget sight video to show everybody maybe what not to buy, what to buy, give my own opinions on these sights, because the budget sight market is flooded. My favorite places to shop are Amazon and Wish.com when I'm looking for budget sights. And you can even go buy them at a department store now. But I'm going to go over why maybe buying that name brand that you've heard of before might not be the best idea. And this is personal experience, and I have some factual evidence to go with it. So right now you see an array of sights. I have a bunch of sights that are on firearms that I'll be bringing in. I didn't want to take them off the firearms because 90% of them are zeroed, and I don't feel like going through that mess of, I don't get enough time to go out and re-zero 3, 4, 5 firearms that have a budget sight on right now. So I'll work from this side of the table to this side real quick and explain what we got going on, and then we'll touch on each. 90% of the sights that we're going to show you are red dot sights. Red dot, green dot, they're, more open field of view, single point, red dot, 90% of them. There are some differences that we're going to go through, and we're going to touch on some brands, maybe not name brands, that you can go to a gun show and see, or that you've heard of, or your grandfather or your father or your uncle owns, but some brands that you can look out for on the web that have some quality behind them. First is Penty. So this was actually my very first sight that I put on my AR-15. I actually got this sight as a gift. My grandfather, who I've talked about plenty of times so far in this channel, he's one of the main reasons I'm into firearms. He got me this sight, which is an AR specific sight for, I don't know if it was for my birthday or for Christmas one year, but I want to touch on it real quick. This is a crosshair style normal scope, 2.5 to 10 power. The glass is pretty clear. It's a pretty good glass. It does have an adjustable diopter here to help with field of vision and focus. The eye relief on this sight isn't great, and that's why it's not on a firearm. As far as quality, material, finish, I nicked it up a couple times, but it's in pretty good shape. I love the fact that it has the laser mounted on it with the pressure. You can run it with or without a pressure switch. I was running it with a pressure switch, and I had it just Velcro attached right by my thumb on the AR. It worked really nice. This scope also has a green or red lighted reticle in it. And now it's just your basic duplex crosshair, nothing fancy with the reticle. But I think when this scope came out, when it was bought, it was about 90 to 110, somewhere in there. I'm seeing scopes, they don't make this exact design anymore, because I think a lot of people complained about the laser being too high and off to the left, that you had a minimal area where the laser was on zero. I had found that you had about a 20-yard area, depending where you set it up. You had about, if you were further down range, you were okay. But up close, you had about a 15 to 20-yard area where the zero was co-witnessing, or where the laser was co-witnessing at a decent level to zero. Now you can buy the similar model to this, where they make this block a little bit larger on this side, put the laser right in there. It's not as powerful of a laser from what I've seen. But you can buy that sight for 60 to 80 bucks. I've seen them as low as 50 or 60 on a sale on Amazon. The nice part about Penty is it does come in a good box. It comes with a manual. I believe you even get batteries with it. Cleaning cloths, the adjustment tools, all the turrets on these. Extremely nice finger adjustable turrets with the waterproof O-ring sealing caps. I don't have any problem with this sight. I like it a lot. It also has a quick adjustable here for 100 to 500 yards, which this is set specifically for a 5.56 AR. Quick adjustment on the range. I've never used it for that. I've shot it out to 200, obviously, just using my 100-yard zero, and it was fine because we were shooting a 16-inch 5.56 setup, so no issues there. Penty, I actually almost pulled the trigger on one of their, it almost looks like a Vortex Spark AR where it's a riser style, short little red dot system. They're about 60 bucks. I almost pulled the trigger on one of those. I didn't. But I have no complaints about Penty. I had a little bit of a problem with it holding zero. One time I went to the range, excuse me, and I would say my biggest complaint is that unless you're using a pair of pliers, you cannot get these mount screws, these big thumb screws, tight enough to where with, 100 rounds or so, it won't have just even the finest amount of movement. Obviously is a big deal at 100 yards. So you have to tighten it down with pliers. It does mar the finish up a little bit. But if you want a 2.5 to 10 power and adjustable power scope with a laser, I would say Penty, great way to go. We're going to move on because I know my last video was just entirely too long. I can talk forever on one individual thing. So I'm going to keep moving. If you're looking for an open reticle reflex style optic, this is a Tacticon. Now Tacticon says they're an American or a veteran owned company. I don't want that to be confused with made in the US. Now, as I don't have any direct issues with this sight in general, this is the same reflex red dot that you can buy anywhere on the internet. An advantage to buying it from Tacticon, they do offer what I believe is a lifetime warranty. Tacticon is on Amazon. Lifetime warranty. If you do have any issues with it, listen, it's a cheap sight. You're talking 40 to 60 bucks for this. I have put this on a 12 gauge, and I will tell you this now, I have not had a single issue with this sight, even on a 12 gauge. It does have a nice, hopefully I'm catching you there, it does have a nice, crisp reticle. It has a choice of 4 reticles, green or red as well, and it takes 3 LR44, the small button style batteries. No problems with this. I've shot it on a 22, I put it on a 12 gauge, it's held zero every time. This does have an Allen style hex screw to tighten it up on your pick rail. No qualms about that. It is aluminum. It has a nice little faded American flag symbol in the top. I have heard people complain that that does wear off. But other than that, it's a nice cheap reflex style sight for a Picatinny rail. Everything I've put it on, it's worked. It does definitely, the adjustments for elevation and windage have a nice click, nice tactile click. It has tons of adjustment, as a matter of fact, because my sight rail on my shotgun that I had put it on is up. So I do struggle, depending on the sight, to get the sight down enough to make it work. The sight rail, I'm gonna probably revamp that someday so I don't have to struggle with that so much. But so far I haven't had a sight that couldn't compensate for that, 3-4 degree rise in the sight rail. And this one had plenty of adjustment, and as you can see, it is canted pretty far forward on its base. Tons of adjustment there. Good sight, clear glass, very crisp reticle, multiple reticle designs, and red and green color. I like it a lot. I would say if you're looking for this style sight, go with Tacticon because you're getting a lifetime warranty. You may be getting the same sight you can buy 100 different places online, but at least here you're getting a lifetime warranty, and it's coming from what is supposed to be a veteran-owned company that sells on Amazon. So Tacticon and Penty so far get thumbs up on both. We're like here, and you know what? I think we're going to do this a little different. Because I have experience with all of these sights, you know, at least 30 to 40 rounds out of them, I'm going to give them an initial quality score between 1 and 10. This one I have several hundred rounds, maybe 1,000 rounds out of this, but I'm going to give you an initial quality. I don't want to speak on any of the sights as far as longevity down the road, thousands of rounds, because I've never got there with any of these yet. But the Penty, I'm going to give a 7 out of 10. The reasons we didn't get a 10 is because the eye relief is not great, and the laser's mounted a little bit too funky to really make it super effective. But it does have a good quality laser, good quality glass, and it is a pretty quality optic. And also the mounting screw is not great. So 7 out of 10. I'll give this a 7 out of 10 as well. The only reason it doesn't have like a anti-reflective, you do get a little bit of, it has a purple hue in the glass, but whatever tint is on it is not great, because during bright light you do get a little bit of like refraction, and it kind of glares off the bottom face here. Other than that, it's great, but just knowing that it's the same reflex sight that you can get 100 different places, somebody just had this branded from the manufacturer and gave it a warranty, I'm only going to give it a 7 out of 10 because there's nothing original about it besides the company and, you know, a little bit of a logo and that kind of stuff. Moving on to a name brand that you know. I own 4 or 5 different Tasco products. I have some Tasco scopes on rifles. I have 2 Tasco Pro Point red dots. This particular Tasco Pro Point red dot, this is about a probably 15-year-old sight. This originally came off of a 357 Magnum. I got it because at the time I had a lot of firearms for pick rail sights, wanted to put a lot of red dots on it. This was one that my grandfather had as an extra and had been sitting in a box for a long time. So I just threw it together and put batteries in it, slapped it on a firearm and shot it. I have 2 Pro Points and they're going to be 2 entirely different videos. This Pro Point holds 0, awesome, very sturdy, heavy piece, 11 different brightness levels, obviously windage and elevation adjustable. The actual sight itself is much shorter, but I do have both sunscreens on this, just to give it, mainly to give it size, because it looked a little funny on the firearm that I had it on because it was so short. Because basically if you would cut off the sight at the end of both of these mounts, that's what you got. Now maybe that style's in now, but back when I was using this, that style was not in. The little mini sights, and I thought it looked funky, so I put the sunshades on both front and rear to give it a little bit more, you know, mass, so it didn't look so weird on such a big gun. Glass quality, anti-glare, reticle brightness, reticle appearance, you know, everything about this sight, battery life, everything about this sight is a 10, but I'm only going to give it an 8, and I'll tell you why. These older Pro Points were only 30 mil. My biggest issue with 30 mil sights, especially with something that has as much bulk around it, your FOV is very small. When I was using this one was a semi-automatic 22 rifle. It worked really good for that because it was a plinking gun. As far as putting it on any kind of distance rifle or anything you want to shoot over 50, 60 yards, it's just not for that. You're looking at a 1x magnification sight with no ability to go further, and this doesn't work well with a magnifier. Just all around, you're This is a great sight for pistols or plinking rifles or shotguns or anything that you are going to be shooting short distance, and FOV isn't super important because this doesn't have much. So this is an awesome sight, does everything it needs to do, but because of the sheer just smallness of the sight, the 30 mil objective and eye objective, I can't give it any more than an 8. But if you can get your hands on one of these older Pro Points, I would like you to seriously think about it, because the older Pro Points, great sight. You can pick these up for 50, 60 bucks used, and they are fantastic pieces. Moving along here, I'm just going to grab the next Pro Point, which is on a firearm right now, and it will be coming off the firearm. So I'm going to grab it real quick. I'll be right back. It's sitting right here. All right. So next, this here, actually this says it's a 1x30. This may only be a 25 mil objective. It's very small. So this is the newer style Tasco Pro Point. 1x30, and it's a little bit shorter. It reminds you of, like, it has the red lens tint. It reminds you of the Spark AR from like Vortex with its design. Here's my biggest problem with this from Tasco. If this didn't say Tasco on it, if I bought this on Wish for 20 bucks, I'm happy. But I spent 50 bucks on this at a big box store in the area, and I bought it because it was like 48 bucks. It was a Tasco. It looks cool. It was, you know, normal. It's almost identical to that Pro Point as far as 11 brightness levels, windage and elevation. The glass quality is pretty good. So I'm like, well, I have that one. I love it. I wanted to go with a little bit bigger design. Why not? I was okay with it for a few weeks. After about 50 rounds out of this 22, this Rossi RS-22 semi-automatic 22 long rifle, it stopped holding 0. Now, it may have just been a fluke. It may have been a bump in the adjustment. It may have been right on the edge of an adjustment and a small bump tripped it over. I know how those little tiny gears and spalls work inside those adjustment areas, and sometimes that happens, and I'm not too naive to think that the scope can't move on its own. Sometimes if it's bumped, it shouldn't, obviously, but when you're buying budget sights, you can have that. This is going to go back to my lesson, the last 3 videos, is bore sight, bore sight, bore sight. It doesn't hurt every time you go to the range to stick that bore sighter in. It takes 30 seconds to put your bore sighter in the barrel, look through your scope, make sure it's still on. That way you're not wasting ammo. Now, I don't do that, but it's not a bad practice. My bore sighter goes with me every time I go to the range though. So I stuck the bore sighter in. I mean, this thing's hitting left. I'm trying to compensate. I'm picking different targets because now I can't even tell where it's hitting because there's so many shots. I'm shooting at one target and it's hitting one that's already been shot with an AR. Because I keep my targets relatively close together because 99.8% of the time my stuff's fine. So I put the bore sighter in and it was off like 6 inches. Well, I adjusted the sight back with the bore sighter, shot about another 10 rounds. It was okay. Reloaded the mag, put it back in, ripped another one, and it started creeping. Started creeping over again. Put the bore sighter back in, and it was about halfway over where it was. So I adjusted the sight back over. It didn't give me any more fits that day, but just out of curiosity's sake, I put the bore sighter back in it at home when I was bore sighting a couple new sights that I got, and it was off again. What I had figured out was this mount. It wasn't actually any adjustment in the scope. This mount sucks. They use an integrated mount where it has a weaver and a tip-off style where you flip the thing, and it sucks. For a pick rail, it's terrible. It doesn't work at all. Maybe that's somewhat my own fault, but if it works on weaver, if it's a universal mount like this, it should be able to be tightened and work okay on a 1913 rail. Unfortunately, it doesn't work well on here. And I stuck it on a weaver mount that I was gonna run it on my 50 cal inline break open muzzleloader. I figured, well, that's an 80-yard gun. I'd love to sight it in at 85, 90 yards with that, and use this red dot. Nice, easy, big field of vision scope. Just put it on the animal, bang. But it doesn't work well on the weaver. It doesn't sit perfect on that either. It always sits slightly canted to the left, and then I think it works its way loose with using the firearm. What really set the bar for this Pro Point, and I want you to get a good look at it. What really upset me about this Pro Point was that one day I was shopping on Wish, just paging through, looking at all the ridiculous stuff on there that they offer, and I found an off-brand identical to this sight. Identical. Same style mount, same lens, same adjustment, same everything. It just didn't say Tasco. It said something else, 1x30, and on this side where it says Tasco, it didn't say anything. Tasco commissioned a Chinese company, a Chinese manufacturer, to build them this sight for a big box store, marketed it as one of their good sights, and yeah, you could buy this sight for $17 on Wish, and you get the same thing. Was not happy with Tasco. My fear is that a lot of these companies are doing that. A lot of these companies are outsourcing their sights, and I have some proof, and we're going to go over it next. Well, I want to get into the replica sights. So far, we've worked through our brand name. Definitely not top of the line brand names, but brand name sight that have warranty, that have customer service, that are not just either total replicas or absolute junk that you could buy the same sight as this stuff, but it may not have any customer service, any track record, any solid reviews. You may be able to save a few bucks, but to get the warranty, to get the customer service, I think it's worth it to go with the brand name that sell on Amazon and eBay and places like that. The next brand name I want to go over, Tacticon and Ozark Armament. I don't know if it's the same company, but Ozark Armament and Tacticon's listings look very similar. Okay, so Ozark Armament is on Amazon. I messaged them because I was getting ready to put this video together, and I had messaged them a little while ago. Took me forever to kind of get this channel rolling, but I messaged them a little while ago and asked if they wanted to. I really liked the style of sights that they were putting on, and I liked that they were veteran owned. So I wanted to ask if they wanted to get in the mix and either throw me a discount or throw me a sight, because their sight was only $49. And I'm going to grab their site now, but this is the box it came in. You know what that sticker says, made in China. So here is where the proof in the pudding starts to come in. Okay. Ozark Armament, yes, this is a High Point 1095 TS, 10mm carbine. I don't want to hear it. This gun is so much fun, and it was $300. So, not loaded. I got these cool little side mag things from High Point to store the extra mags right on the stock, and I shoot some Ted Nugent 10mm defense ammo out of it. So, anyways, this 1095 TS, I was looking for a cool red dot, green dot to throw on it. Something that had a decent size objective, but something that didn't look too big on this carbine. Now, the high point is kind of an ugly gun, but it works really well and it's comfy to shoot. It's heavy, but it's kind of ugly. So I wanted to put a sight on that was a budget sight that kind of looked cool. Ozark Armament sells this V1 Predator. That's what this sight is called. Right now it's $49 on Amazon. You can get a listing for Prime if you have it and get free shipping. The V1 Predator comes with red dot, green dot, and windage adjustment, one ring mount with like a cant back to one. It runs on like 2 or 3 rail sections. So it's a very simplistic mount. It has a red dot, green dot, single dot, 1 MOA. The dot is really clear, where the glass is really clear. The dot is pretty sharp. I don't ever recommend running it above 4 on green, and we're probably really not above 3 on green and not above 4 on red, because with all budget scopes you do get a little bit of dot flare, and you get kind of, it's not like a parallax, but you get like a dot flare, which causes a little bit of distortion in the glass. I've used this sight. I've ran, 5-6 mags out of this particular firearm with this sight on it. I will say the sight holds 0 great. The lens quality is great. The only thing that I wouldn't mind is if they made the eyepiece a little bigger. The objective is 35 mil, so it does gather light quite nicely, but the eyepiece is 30, so it is a little bit smaller. Your FOV isn't great, but it's not bad. And I really love this. This firearm just pulls up, sits so nicely, and it has this awesome, like, real soft cheek pad. But we're not going to get into this firearm right now. That's not what the video is about. So, Ozark Armament. See if we can get you in there on the green dot at all. Hopefully it hits you somewhere in there. I like the canted mount because you can actually flip this mount around. If you need to get it back further for eye relief, you can. But I did run it the way it came because it was fine for me and the eye relief that I needed. It is just a fantastic little sight for 50 bucks. Here's, again, the constant struggle with budget sights. So, just like Tacticon, just like Penty, Ozark Armament, Moths. Ozark Armament is offering you the same made in China sight that you can buy this sight on Wish, you can buy it on eBay, you can buy it a lot of places, but they're offering you a lifetime warranty with it. So as you might be able to buy it $10 or $20 cheaper somewhere else, they're giving you the option to pay a little bit more for the same thing, but get a warranty and get a name brand behind it too. What I will say is, reaching out to Ozark Armament on Amazon, quick response from them. They declined to get into it. They said for some reason they can't support firearms channels or YouTube or do any kind of linking with Amazon, or they could lose their store. I don't know how true that is. They do have a website that you can go on though. So I feel like next time maybe I'll contact them through the website instead of Amazon. But at the time I didn't know they had a website. So Ozark Armament, this site, for what it is. Now, I'm not comparing these sites to $1,000 sites, to $500 sites. I'm not even comparing them to $200 and $150 sites, because these are $40 to $80 sites, okay? This I'm giving a 9 out of 10. The only reason it doesn't get a 10 out of 10 is because if you turn up the brightness all the way, you do get a little color flare in the glass. You don't have to run it that high. It's plenty bright without it. I actually think maybe level 5 is too bright, and they never had to go that bright with it. And if they didn't do that, they probably would have got a 10 out of 10, because for the money, you get the caps, you get the windage elevation adjustment, you get a nice strong 6-bolt mount, you get a single, and you get a nice 45 degree or maybe 60 degree cant, so you can adjust it. to get whatever you need out of the eye relief. And the eye relief itself is not bad. 9 out of 10 for this sight. Next up, now we're gonna switch to one more real quick. We're gonna get over from Amazon, we're gonna go to wish.com, okay? So on wish.com, this is a no name, no brand name, red, green, single, vertical, reticle, vertical, like aperture, single vertical line with a couple range marks in the middle, red or green or just black. The reticle is always there. The glass, see, this is what throws me off. What I'm about to show you coming up here is mind-blowing. The next site, I think I'll save it for last, but there's only 2 or 3 more sites to go. It's mind-blowing. I mean it. A lot of these cheap sites, the biggest thing that people always say, well, how's the glass quality? Well, how's the I bet it's not clear. I bet my vortex. No. I have yet to buy a site that had bad glass. The only thing that didn't have great glass was this, because there was not a good coating on it. But it was pretty clear. This was literally like a $21, I think I paid $30 or $35 with shipping for this site. There's nothing wrong with it. It has held up to mag loads of 12 gauge without losing its zero. Now the cool thing about shooting double aught buck out of a TAC 14 is zero is like anywhere in a 12-foot circle at 15 yards with this particular firearm. Has not lost zero. Just to go over a couple things on the site. No covers for the adjustment, but it does have thumb screw style turrets. It does have adjustable, and it's gone. Diopter. Has adjustable diopter for focus, for eye relief. It has your 5 levels for red and green. And it also has these cool little pick rail attachments that I was able to get a laser from Wish for $4 and attach it. So now I got the laser. If this is the first video that you've watched of mine and you don't understand why, or you don't know why I'd put a sight on the shotgun, the sight rail itself has a tunnel. You can just use the bead. I got the SWAT grip with the SWAT light and a Merc style slant foregrip, couple little white things. Go back in my channel if you like this and you want to know more about this. I love this gun. And I did a whole episode called The Best Home Defense Firearm on this particular weapon. But back to the site. $30 or something ridiculous like that. Glass quality, clear, reticle, clear, holds zero that I can tell. I'd actually like to put this on like the carbine someday. It sits a little too low for it. But I'd like to put this on the carbine someday with a riser, or put it on any other firearm that shoots a single projectile and see how good it actually holds. But here's the moral of the story, guys. Unless you get a complete faulty piece of crap, you're not going to have a problem with these things holding zero. I've ran so many of these budget sights with so many rounds out of high percussion calibers, and I've never had a problem with it holding zero. The only one that I had a problem with was that piece of crap knockoff Tasco, and it is a Tasco, that the mount sucks on. And this, when the mount came loose, because I didn't tighten it up with a pair of pliers. But other than that, none of these budget sites have ever had an issue holding zero. So, wish.com, if you got just a beater gun, and you want to throw the cheapest red dot you can find, go on Wish. This thing took 2 weeks to come in. Came in a nice box like this, but I think it was black. And came with a manual tools, might have came with batteries. Not a bad little gun. It's called the Firewolf. It has an insignia underneath the laser over here. But the Firewolf. Laughable, but for $30, budget sights, man. I've ran plenty of rounds through it. It's been fine. So, we have covered the name brand Amazon stuff with warranties, with customer service, with a company name. We've covered really that Wish site. That Firewolf is the only one that I have that's a total just junk site, I guess a lot of people would call it, but it's just one. It's the only one that I have that has no real anything. It's just a China site from Wish. But every single one of these so far have been under $100. So we have 2 sites to go. Now we're going to move over to a different genre of site, what I call replicas. First one, I have a Canic TP9 SFX here. Awesome gun. I did a lot of research on different sites, and I have no qualms about spending $200 for a Vortex or a Fastfire 3 or a Holosun 508. I'll probably get one eventually. But for the sake of spending money and for the sake of doing this video and supporting what I support on this channel, I went on Wish. If you do your research, and I mean do your research, and find out the exact models and listings, you can pick yourself up a really well-built replica of a Trijicon or an EOTech, stuff like that, that is well worth the money just because it's a good site. Now, people can say what they want about running replica stuff, that you're being a poser or being a fanboy. I don't give a shit. And I'll show you why. This is a Replica Trijicon SRO. Now, the only thing that's different about this SRO and a real SRO is the battery placement, which has been improved upon. The battery placement can be accessed without removing the sight, unlike a factory RMR, unlike a factory SRO. The battery, they've made a door for the top. They give you a tool, a plastic tool, so you don't even mar it up. You can put a 2032 battery in there. The adjustments are tactile. The functions are identical to a Trijicon. The glass is very similar. The only thing that's not full Trijicon, the glass has a little bit of a blue tint. But I hope I can get it so it's on. But the red dot itself is so crystal clear. The glass is clear. The red dot is tight. It is small. It is nice. And it holds up. So, what you get, you're probably wondering the price. This Trijicon SRO, any Trijicon RMR SRO is $400, okay? You get it, if you order it from Wish, you're going to pay about 50 to 60 bucks depending on the listing. Make sure you get a listing that's verified. It's a verified seller, verified store. Make sure you get a listing that has lots of reviews with pictures of what people are receiving. The nice part about this is one of the few sites, this is one of the few pistol red dots for sight plates that you can get that comes in gray. It matches the Canic. You get a regular Picatinny style mount if you want to run it on the side of a Glock, or side of a Glock, for the side of an AR or any other weapon as like a backup sight, or even like you could run this one, that 22 semi, and have plenty of fun with it. You get a Glock mount if you have an MOS Glock. You get the plastic tool to access the battery containers. You get a little hex head wrench, little Allen wrench to access the factory sight mount and all that. And a little cleaning cloth. And you could just get this nice little case for 50 bucks. Now, the cool thing about this, it is that much of a replica of a Trijicon that the Canic #2 sight plate is for a Trijicon. I put the sight plate on and put this sight on. Done. The only thing I had to go get was the 6/32 by 1/2 inch screw that Trijicon uses on their sights, because They don't give you a 6/32 screw. Their sight block and the Glock sight block use different style screws, so they didn't include the Trijicon screws. The only thing I would recommend is if you want to buy this, go ahead and get yourself some Trijicon screws. I went to the hardware store and just got some stainless Phillips heads for now, but I do have the actual Trijicon hex heads ordered. This is a fantastic sight for the money. Let's say I shoot 1,000 rounds out of it and it quits, because I've watched some videos of the RMR replicas and some of them quit. I actually know how to fix them because I know how to do microelectronics and work with boards. It's always the battery connection. It's a very simple fix to fix it. In my opinion, if you have a red dot that works forever and holds 0, you haven't wasted any money. I don't care if it says Trijicon on it or not. It's a cool looking sight. I love it. It matches the gun. I don't care what you have to say about it not being real, because for me, it's just a sight I like. Doesn't matter if it says Trijicon or not. I wanted to buy a sight for under $100 for this sight plate that I could use as a factory sight plate. And you can only run like Vortex, Burris, Hollison. They do have a Glock style, anything that'll work on a Glock style mount. The Trijicon and a few other really high dollar sights are the only ones that the plates come for Canic. So for me, the knockoff Trijicon bolted right up. It was like, why not? So Replica Trijicon, absolutely fantastic for the dollar. And it doesn't come in a crap cardboard box. It comes in a nice container with all the stuff you need, and it even came with batteries. The other scope companies need to take notes. I know you're trying to sell your sights cheap, so you're sending them in a crap cardboard box like this with nothing in it. That's fine. You can do whatever you want. You give us a warning and I'm happy. Take a little bit of pride in it. Give a nice box. Give the manuals, the tools, the batteries, and you got me sold. Because I don't, like I said, I don't care that it's a replica. I don't even care that it says Trijicon. I like the fact that it worked with the Trijicon mount. It came with all this nice stuff. And the reviews and the videos that I've watched on it, it functions fully. It's just a matter of how long. Some of them work forever. Some of them work for a couple weeks. It's the battery contacts on the board that go bad on all of them, and I can fix it. So for 60 bucks, I'm happy as a pig in shit. Excuse my language. Next up, let's clear the table, because this bad boy is going to blow your mind. So staying with the Replica, hang on. Staying with the Replica sights. You got it right. Here we go. What we have here is a very, very good replica of an EOTech HHS2, the holographic sight 2 with the G33 3x magnifier flip up. Pretty impressive. When I originally opened this up, I was convinced for a few minutes, and I didn't want to be convinced, but I was convinced for a few minutes that we had received a black market EOTech marketed as a replica, because you get the EOTech container. The sight came wrapped, sealed beautifully in like an ultrasonically sealed vacuum bag. The magnifier came bagged. The magnifier mount came separate. They gave you a riser mount for the magnifier if you want to use it with a different sight. It came with CR123 batteries. Everything was nice, beautiful. It came with a cloth. It came with all the tools you need for it. It came with extra screws if you run the different, like, high quality galvanized heavy screws. The only thing it didn't come with that obviously made it not a fairy tale was, this is your manual, and this is your manual for your magnifier. It came with everything but EOTech paperwork. Now, if you go online, how to spot an EOTech fake, you won't get red and green. This has red and green. You won't be able to see the LED projection. You can see it slightly. And then they also say that the battery won't be the same, but it is the same in this. My neighbor is a law enforcement officer. He's played with EOTechs. He owns EOTechs. He's been around them for a long time. He had to go online, pull up how to spot it, and look at it to even know for sure that it was a replica, because guys, everything about this site, besides those two things that I mentioned, is 100% dead on an EOTech. The weight of the site, the weight of the magnifier, the flip-up magnifier, the operation, the levers to lock it, everything in, the quick adjust levers with the quick adjust lock. It's all identical. Every single thing about the site is identical. The wording, the stickers, the buttons, the badges, the serial number, everything about this site is exactly the way an EOTech is, and exactly the way the EOTech works. And wait, it gets better. This glass quality and this magnifier is better than the Vortex magnifier. I guarantee you, this magnifier alone is better than the Vortex magnifier. It has a lot of adjustment. I probably could have put it's almost like in between. You either stick it on, you either stick the riser mount in and bring the magnifier down, or you take the riser mount out, take the magnifier up. Either way, it doesn't matter. I chose to not run the riser, so it's less, components, less weight, bring the magnifier up, plenty of adjustment, absolutely 100% crystal clear. Diopter is adjustable. It says EOTech. It's very rugged, extremely heavy, sturdy, well built, and again, the glass quality is superb. This has the best glass quality of anything on this table. It is almost as if they took a real EOTech magnifier and put a replica sight with it. The magnifier is that good. Everything about the magnifier is identical to the way the magnifier on the HHS2 setup, which comes with the G33 magnifier. It's identical, everything about it. Here's the best part. I got on Wish and I paid $128 or $132 plus a little bit for shipping. I think maybe all in I spent $150. And I got what you see here. The reticle quality, the glass quality, the function, the 1CR123 battery. It even comes with a tether, just like the real EOTech does. Everything about this site so far has been absolutely superb. I want to be able, it's just going to be next to impossible to be able to give you an idea of the quality for right now, because I'm just not good enough to take video outside and edit it all together right now. I'm sorry, maybe someday I will. But this EOTech site is absolutely, this replica is absolutely fantastic. Everything about it is just on point, and I just greatly hope, and I'm going to go into something else here in a minute, but I greatly hope that this thing holds zero and functions as good as it looks and as good as it feels, because if it does, I'm going to be through over the moon with joy. And again, going back to the Trijicon thing, I don't care that this site says EOTech. I don't care. I tell people it's a replica. I don't want people to think I went out and spent $1,160 on an EOTech site as a civilian. I don't care. What I do care about is I spent $150 and got $200 worth of magnifier. Guaranteed. This is better than the Vortex magnifier. I promise you. I don't care who wants to challenge me. Come to my, come shooting with me. Better yet, go on Wish and buy it. You're getting a ton. Even if you don't want this, throw it away, give it to some kid. I don't care. This is $200 worth of magnifier all day long. The flip up works so good. The quick adjust mount. This is identical to an EOTech magnifier. I'm not even convinced that it's not the same thing because it is so good. The red dot. I was looking. This is the setup I wanted to put on. It didn't have to be EOTech again. I was looking to put on a holographic reflex style sight with a flip up magnifier. That's the setup I wanted to run on my AR. And I'm getting ready to build an AR pistol, and this is going to go on the AR pistol because I think that's a good idea for that quick acquisition, but can also go distance 200, 250 meters if you want. So that's going to go on that, and then this is going to get another hybrid style sight. I wanted a holographic reflex style sight with a magnifier, and I wasn't going to spend 130, 140 bucks on the A3s or whatever they are on Amazon. Penty has one out there. I wasn't going to spend over $100 on something that I knew the magnifier wasn't going to be very good on. I got a tip. I went through some forums. I went digging and found out that if you buy this combination on Wish, the magnifier is versatile because you can raise and lower it. It has tons of adjustment, and everybody raved about how good the G33 magnifier was on this exact setup from Wish. I'll be honest with you. I bought the setup for the magnifier because I've wanted one because I can use it with all my other sights. I was blown away just as much by this. I know it's a replica. I know it's not a real EOTech, but for 150 bucks, if you guys don't take the EOTech sticker off, if you don't want to be a fanboy, or it's not a sticker, but color it out or whatever, I'm going to report back. I'm going to do a special video just on this replica after I fire it, after I run a couple hundred rounds through it and see how it performs. But so far, initial quality, it's $400 worth of sight in my opinion right now. If it works and it holds zero and it functions as it should, I'm buying more. So long-winded again, probably went over too long. I'm sorry guys, I get excited about this stuff. I hope you don't think I'm a total crackhead because I buy a bunch of cheap sights and I bought fake Trijicon, fake EOTech, but I like experimenting with budget stuff. I like seeing what works and what doesn't, and if I'm taking the hits, you should be happy for that because you don't have to. But here's the thing, I haven't taken a hit yet. Moral of the story is you can be confident when you go out and buy stuff now, especially from the brands like Penty, Ozark, Armament, Tasco, because there is customer service, there is warranty. Tacticon, not Tasco, Tacticon. Because if something breaks, they give you another one, and you still only spent a third of what a Gucci brand, name brand. I have nothing wrong with Vortex. I have nothing wrong with Hollison or Burris or any of the really nice sight manufacturers that make good red dots. I have nothing wrong with them. I'd love to be able just to say I'll go buy them, because if I could, I wouldn't buy this stuff. But I don't have the money, just like a lot of you won't. That's why you're searching budget sites, to go out and spend that. Go with a brand that's giving you a warranty, buy it once for 1/10 of the price, and you're done. Because for me and you, who don't go out and aren't planning on running a duty cycle with any of this stuff and being out and using it 365 days a year, it's probably more than enough, and it's probably going to exceed your expectations. Anyways, this is Corbin from Circa 2020. If you want any more information on any of these sites, just comment below, send a message to the channel, and let me know what you'd like to see next. Maybe a video of this sight in action with this gun as a feature for this firearm, or anything else you want to see. So anyways, we'll catch you next time. Keep on shooting. We'll see you around. Thanks.